Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll call to order the Criminal Justice, Public Safety and Emergency Services Committee meeting for September 23rd. This is going to be a long and busy day for all of our committees, so we're going to do our best to stay on time. We're going to be reviewing budgets today. Obviously, it's not reasonable to review every line item, so I would ask you please to consider significant items, changes, anything you feel is critically important for the committee to be aware of. But at least from my perspective, there's not an anticipation to review every single line in your budget. So first item is to approve the minutes of the prior committee meeting. Motion Supervisor Strainer, second Supervisor Mayday. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Privilege of the floor. Any comments from our committee members first? Other supervisors? Anyone else? All right, seeing none. The first office today will be the assigned counsel. We've got Brian with us this morning, so if I'm not mistaken, there are no action items
There are not.
requested. So it's just a discussion. We'll move right into that of your budget request. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Roger. This is just our discussion of the 2026 budget. To me, the most important change is we are projecting more revenue from the state. In 2023, they increased the amount of compensation for assigned counsel attorneys from $60 an hour and $75 an hour to $158 an hour across the board. Unfortunately, this is largely a county cost. However, as part of that, the state did require that half of the increase be paid by or reimbursed by the state. So when we were putting together our 2025 budget, we estimated about $200,000 that we'd be getting back from the state to cover that increase. When we were doing that estimate, we didn't have the calendar year worth of reimbursement yet. So it was just a projection at that time. So now that we have 4 quarters of reimbursement, we know exactly what we're looking at each year. So we've now, for the 2025 year, the 2024 year, we got $309,000 back from the state. So now we're projecting that that's going to be pretty stable, about $300,000 each year. So you'll see an increase in the revenue that we're getting back from the state for that reimbursed increased cost of the vouchers, $200,000 last year to $300,000 this year. Other than that, all of our other grants that we receive from the state, from the Indigent Legal Services Agency with the state, have been static. They haven't gone up, haven't gone down. We've been able to use those to defray the costs of running the office, using that to provide better representation for our clients, the assigned clients for the attorneys, including providing experts, providing legal research tools, et cetera, for the attorneys to provide better representation. But other than that, everything else is pretty much the same from 2025.
Any questions for Brian this morning? Supervisor Strainer.
You said the state's gonna pay half of the increase or half of the total tale?
Half of the increase.
So we're still going up.
Yes. But like I said, to try and defray the cost of that, the state, when they did pass this increase, agreed to pay half of the increase. So every year or every quarter, we have to do a packet to the state saying, this is how much we paid in voucher costs for this quarter. This is your percentage. Send something to them, and they end up giving us, like I said, half of that increase.
And how long does it take before we see any of that money?
Like I said, we do it quarterly. So usually I think it's about a 3 to 6 month lag time, because we have to accumulate all the paperwork. We send them copies of all of our vouchers for that time period. We have to scan it in. That's something all our grant manager does. So she compiles all that data, sends it to the state. So like I said, I think there's a 3 to 6 month lag there.
We pay as we go, so
Yes.
how do we get reimbursed from the attorneys? I mean, do they send in like a voucher or something?
So while the case is pending, Normally they bill when the case is over. However, there are some exceptions. We generally try and have them bill an interim billing at the end of the calendar year. That way we can use the, for instance, this year, the 2025 budget dollars that are assigned for voucher costs. We can use that to pay vouchers and time that was accrued by the attorney in 2025. So they'll submit an interim voucher at the end of the year, end of the calendar year, so we can pay it out of the 2025 budget. But normally they pay it out of, they submit a voucher when they're done with the case. It comes to me first, I review it, send it to the judge reviews it, the judge signs it, and then we send it to the auditor's office from there.
Any other questions?
Cha-ching.
Right, just in general, how is the office functioning in the 333 location?
It's going well. Being in 333 is all covered by grants from the state. So there's no additional cost to the county for being in that building, but it does provide us with a better space. We are looking at potentially moving to a different space within 333 Glen Street. Right now, the Public Defender's Office has an office on the first floor. We're on the third floor. We're looking at potentially moving our office from the Public Defender's Office is vacating the space on the first floor. They're moving a large amount of their office up to the 9th floor. Actually, that might be on the agenda today. So if they vacate the first floor, we're potentially looking at moving to the first floor because it's the same cost for us, what we think is better space. It also has a safety window for when people come into our office to apply. But right now they physically come into our office, but the first floor has a safety window where they can apply at a window, but not physically be in our office for safety purposes. So we are potentially looking at moving down to that space in the first floor. But we'll see what happens with the Public Defender's Office moving and sort of all the machinations there.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Brian?
No.
Brian, thank you so much for what you do all throughout the year and administering that office. Greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll move on to the district attorney's office. We've got our chief attorney with us. There's 4 requests. I believe we can combine a couple of these. The first one is to apply for and receive crimes against revenue prosecution grant, and that amount is undetermined. But the second one is to apply for and receive a criminal justice discovery reform grant in the amount of $420,470. So without objection, these are both applying for grants. You want to just give us a quick overview and we'll move on both of these?
Sure. The Crimes Against Revenue Prosecution grant is $58,600 again this year. I think it's been that number every year since I've been in the role as district attorney or acting DA. That is when someone is convicted of stealing money from a government agency. So welfare fraud, tax fraud, those kinds of things. We have to track all the time that's put into those and then make submissions. Again, we do quarterly submissions as well. And then those costs are offset to the maximum of $58,600 per year. The other one, the Criminal Justice Discovery Reform Grant, as we know, the state in 2020 passed a lot of new laws, including bail reform and discovery reform. And then, of course, that caused huge expenses to go up for prosecutors' offices. They've then, maybe a year or 2 later, started creating these discovery grants. The good news is this grant is based on the volume, and we actually have a decent amount of volume for our county size. So the grant this year is going to be $420,470. That's what I'm being told, but I haven't received the official paperwork yet. So I'm waiting for that. In years past, we've given split a portion of that with the sheriff's office. And it looks like this year, again, assuming this all happens and the way it's written, it would be $116,242 of that would go to the sheriff's. That marks, I think, if I'm going off my memory, around a $67,000 grant increase. This isn't on of these 2, so I guess I could wait to talk about the next part.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. And motion to move on 1 and 2, Supervisor Conover, Supervisor Strainer. Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I think we can move on 3 and 4 as well. They're both for contracts. The first one is for a contract with West Publishing Corporation, and the 4th item is for a contract with Axon. So go ahead and give us a.
Sure. Let me start with Wes, and I see members of the PD's office are here as well. we joined with the public defenders, multiple members. I didn't see Greg. We joined with the Public Defender's Office, and together we've been trying to come up with a strategy to get legal research at a better price. And I had spoken to Greg and other members of his office. They were looking at Westlaw. I think they may have an existing contract. We had Lexis, which is really the two. It's Lexis or Westlaw. Our contract's expiring at the end of the year. We began negotiations, and Westlaw had basically given us a reduced rate if we could team up the two offices. They would be completely separate, but because they'd be getting a certain number of licenses, they were giving us reduced pricing. I also talked to the county attorney in his office. They had given us we'd sent the contract over, they'd given us some suggestions on how it should be written so that years 4 and 5 are options and would be subject to board approval. I'm still waiting to hear back from Westlaw, so I think that's going to happen. And obviously I could update the budget team or whoever needed updating once we get the final answer. The split would be 60% just by volume for the public defender's office. They would have 15 licenses. Our office would have 10. We would pay 40%. And I can break down those numbers. It's very, very low in year 1. It's actually a reduction of what our Lexis expense is. It does go up in the years after. And I have that tabbed. So according to my last discussions with Westlaw, waiting for some updates, year 1, as I said, was exceptionally low. It would be 189 a month, which is way below what we're paying now. And the PD would be 284 a month because it's 60/40. The highest year would be year 2030. That would be one of those option years. And it would be 1,542 a month for the DA's office and 2,313 and change a month for the PD's office. It's really robust software. We have to have one. This is how we do all our legal research. This is how when we're trying to find out what the law is and what we need to argue, we have to rely on some form of legal research. Westlaw is a really good product. I've used it before. We used it maybe 5 years ago till Lexis contract came in, and this would be us returning to that. So that's the Westlaw. Axon, you probably all have heard that, maybe at least those that have been up here for a while, because the sheriff's office maybe a few years ago entered a contract. This is the body cameras. So all that body camera. We are currently using another way to store body cameras, and it's a per terabyte, basically the quantity. Axon is a flat fee. It's about $35,000 a year over year for a 5-year term. I talked to the county attorney's office because it's sort of piggybacking with the sheriff's existing contract. They thought that would work. That will allow us unlimited storage. And I have some hopes that it might help ease some burdens on other expenses that we have. Just as for example, we saw a huge increase in our storage, our digital storage this last year, way over what I had budgeted. I talked to the agency. They said, have any of your departments that use body cameras increase their resolution on their cameras? Are there any other cameras that are coming into your system? So if you go from 1080p to 4K, now we have to store 4K. That's what we're storing. And suddenly our storage costs would jump that substantially without really any significant change. This would flatten that out and we would have a flat fee. It also provides some other features which helps us share all of our data with public defenders, the private attorneys, the assigned counsel attorneys. It allows us to share those quite easily. Also, by doing this, Axon's been providing this service kind of for free, and they're holding all of our data. So if we didn't, then we have to get all of our data out of Axon for the last 4 years and find another place and pay some other place to store it. So I thought it would be way more seamless if we could reach this deal with Axon.
Okay. Motion to move items 3 and 4. Supervisor Mayday, Supervisor Gilligan. Question, Supervisor Connell.
Yeah, just, I think I raised this, in the budget meeting that, we maintain ownership of the, video data. In other words, we have the ownership of it such that if we were to want to make any kind of adjustment in the future, we have the right to take that information and move it wherever we want. I mean, I know we have had some issues with that in the past, where there was some claim of proprietary rights.
I don't believe it's an issue with the sheriff's contract because it's the sheriff's data. What the district attorney's office needs is the ability to access that data using the platform of Axon. So I don't believe there's any issue regarding ownership.
And I will say, all the data, we have the ability to download it. When we share it, the defense can view it, or they can download it and make their own additional file should they want to. This would actually be our own independent file. We have long retention periods that we're required to meet statutorily. So this allows us to maintain them. Say the contract runs out, your concern is, hey, now what? We would have to make decisions on where we're going to move that, but it would be our data, not their data. But, good.
Any other questions? All in favor of moving items 3 and 4?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, there's 3 discussion items. The first is receive notification of receipt of a crimes against revenue program in the amount of $59,000. That's for this calendar year.
Yeah, so as I mentioned above, and actually I said 58.6, but I think it's 59.6. Want to apply again. It comes late. You know, we apply, we get it, but it comes mid-year. So we recently received this year's money, but you don't get it January 1. So just letting you know that did come in. We also did receive approval for our Office of Income Services. That's number 2. That takes us through for the next few years at a rate of $167,260 per year for our Office of Victim Services. And then lastly, if you'd like me to just talk about the budget briefly, I could. I kind of touched on it with these 2 contracts. That's our 2 biggest things, is Westlaw and Axon. So obviously all this is subject to budgetary approval for this to occur. Otherwise, we've tried to keep everything as flat as we can. There's cost of living expenses that came with union contracts, and we are seeking that for non-union employees as well. But the other expenses that I can think of that would be of any significance, we do have the Office 365. I think every department does, where we got to pay those licenses for Office 365. So we do have that as a new expense. I will say on our narcotics budget and our victim services budget, we were able to make a couple of cuts. We're trying to offset that Office 365, so we're able to cut 1,000 here, 1,000 there. But yeah, the only other increase, and I've got some hopes that maybe we'll see something positive come from this. Right now, we don't have an Axon contract, and so all our storage is in something called digital evidence management systems. And every time we add something to that mix, that you're paying for more and more and more, and it just builds upon itself. The Axon has what's called an ingestion portal, and we're hoping we can just start ingesting. So for example, Glens Falls Police Department doesn't use Axon. They use a different body cam manufacturer. They also, you've probably seen, they have other surveillance footage that they gather in the city. When they gather it, we store it and we put it in this digital evidence management system. I saw big increases this year in that. If we get this Axon, my hope is that maybe we could reduce it, but I'm planning for not that, just in case. So we're asking for an increase on our DEMS. That's where we're seeing the only other increase. I think we spent 12 this year, and we're maybe looking to go to 17 just in case. But if we could get some interns and some ability, we might even see if we could take some existing files and push them back into the Axon system that we're having that flat fee, and maybe even see if we could get a reduction. I just don't know if I have the resources yet to do that, but that's the only other thing I can think of. So Westlaw, Axon, DEMS, and Office 365. It's all technology. The good news is the grant increases more than covered those changes or those requests.
All right, questions for Jason? 2 quick questions. How do you feel your staffing levels are in terms of the attorneys and workload?
We're fully staffed. We have a busy office. You know, I say this all the time. We're able to do it in the current position that we're in. That could change. And I see our friends from the PD's office. So, you know, we have them as they work on cases with us, but we also, the assigned counsel's office, and then the private attorneys. So there are a lot of attorneys that we work with. I was up here a couple of years ago and I had just run the numbers, and I think we were able to identify between 100 and 150 cases that we had at that different attorneys. So we deal with a lot of attorneys. So with the PD, it's easy to share material. They're familiar with it. We have a good working relationship. With most of the other offices, we're able to get them their material. Some struggle, the smaller offices or private attorneys that might be not familiar with our area, but I think it's going pretty well. We lost an employee recently, a staff person, and we were able to get one of our interns qualified and we hired, and she's been great. So I think it's going well. And I will say our internship programs really paid off. We've got several attorneys who were interns previously, and then I'm referring to like the unpaid internships when they were in college or law school. And now we have a staff person who was.
Moving here. Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. All right, move on to probation agenda. Our director is probation. Unless it came out of order. You have emergency, so,
He's in the packages next.
no. Well, we'll move on with probation. I don't see any action items, just the discussion of the budget. So go ahead, Doug.
Good morning. As you look through our budget package, our budget contains three separate budgets. Majority of it is in 3140, our probation regular budgets. I will focus on that because that's where the majority of stuff is, and I will go through it relatively quickly. So in probation, we basically have personnel, and that's about it, and a few other contracts we do. So through the course of the budget process, we attempted to keep most of the lines consistent and decreased where we could. We do have additional expenses in the contract code, and that is a result of some grants we have with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. That is a grant over the course of 2 years for $431,000 and some change. The revenue will also reflect that. We put a little bit more money in Raise the Age to do some programming. The majority of the time we come up here, we talk about the issues we have with youth and the increased violence. So we put some programs in to do with White House for a small amount of money for $20,000. That's also revenue from Raise the Age, as well as doing a partnership with DSS for the YAP program, where they will probably talk about that later when they do their budget presentation. But the YAP is Wraparound Services by Youth Advocate Program. So we put a little money in that to offset some costs we have with Raise the Age kids, and hopefully those programs will decrease the amount we rely on for detention. So other than that, probation revenue is a block grant that's been consistent, unfortunately, for many years. It doesn't really go up. And that's about it. So I can answer any questions should you have them on the main probation budget.
Any questions, Bob? Well, I'll ask you the same question about staffing levels for you.
We are, we've had 3 people leave our department this year, couple of retirements and 1 left for another job. We have 1 position to fill left. We're in the process of doing that. You know, with that we're adequately staffed. We've been consistent. We found business is picking up a little bit, not only on the juvenile side, but on the adult side. So going into 26, we are in good position, and hopefully we continue to maintain that.
Any other questions? All right, moving right along. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right, Anne Marie, we'll move to emergency services. The reason I skipped because I don't have that. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start with just a couple things off the top. Our department receives a lot of grants from Homeland Security. The grant applications have not come through to us yet. We are told possibly that New York funding from the FEMA grants could be cut by 40%. So when we do get the funding, which probably won't be until next year, it's gonna be a significant drop in what we've had before. So like this past grant, we received about $68,000. 35% of that goes to the sheriff's department, and then we share the rest with any needs from our IT department or our department. So that is definitely affecting our budget request for 2026. And we also, have the additional cost of the Office 365 licensing. And in smaller departments, sometimes you can kind of see that a little bit more, it'll stand out a little bit more than other departments with a larger budget, so that's affecting us. And the other item, which doesn't affect just our department, other departments as well, our vendor that we use for generator maintenance, those costs have significantly gone up as well for the repair and for the preventive maintenance as well. And that happened to be the low bid, but that's also impacting our budget as well. So we're working on that. And just to go over a couple of quick items, under the fire budget, which is 3410, we are looking to replace aging radios, approximately 7 of them. And they run about 2,700, so we're asking for 19,000 in that budget line. And under contractual, we have a few things under that, the Office 365. Hazmat physicals, we usually budget around 9,000 every year for the hazmat, so there's really no change to that. And we do the cause of emergency contract with Glens Falls, we still maintain that while we do have our own team. We only have 2 fire investigators currently on the team, so we are tag teaming it and sharing the load with Glens Falls Fire Department, which seems to be working out well. Under civil defense, one of the items we're asking for this year, I requested $9,000 for a trailer mover. We currently have about 10 trailers that are in our storage building, and we're currently receiving equipment, flood mitigation equipment from the state, which is going to give us an additional 3 to 4 trailers that would be needed to be moved if we had to move things around in the storage building, which we do on occasion based on what's needed. So we're looking for that. The trailer mover would give us the ability to move trailers up to 10 or 12,000 pounds without having to use a vehicle. So the trailer mover would take care of that, and somebody like me would be able to move a trailer with a trailer mover. So it'd be very efficient for us. Let's see. Another thing that's been added to the civil defense budget is we have heat installed that's in our storage building. It is heated by propane based on February, March of 2025, which were the only 2 months it was heated. We're looking for $6,000 for the propane for that. And two items that are increased in civil defense under the contract line. Quick Series. Quick Series is is our app that's used for notifications and also education. That was grant funded. So we're looking to hopefully get some money for that. And then once the grants come through, we'll switch it back to grant funded. The other item that's coming up for renewal is Regroup, which is mass notification for employees. Under Regroup, that was originally started with ARPA funds. So we are looking for an increase to fund that. And under EMS, we are again looking to continue our AED replacement. We asked for $4,500 in to be able to replace 2 AEDs. We're trying to keep it on a cycle, so we do 2 a year instead of 12 every 5 years or every 6 years. So it's a rolling thing that will be in our budget going forward. So that's probably about it for most of the increases.
Questions? Seeing none?
So I wanted to go over some of our accomplishments and some of our goals going forward. Ashley and I completed the Basic Academy this spring, which was a pretty long number of hours. And we've got the drone program established and off the ground, so to speak. And we started up the fire investigation team, which seems to be working very well. They've been an asset for our department and for any of the fire departments that needed investigations. And our ongoing goals is to continue to do public outreach. attend events and just set up. We do a lot of talking with the public, and it really helps them to come more prepared for some of these things that come down our way, especially that are weather-related events. And we're gonna continue doing training courses, posting them or attending them. And the other thing that I have on a goal is to work with our DPW department and get a debris management plan started so we can work towards prevention.
Anything for Anne Marie? Anything else you want to relay? Supervisor
I
Conover?
just want to say, the outreach has been terrific. The communication has improved substantially. And, I, for one, really appreciate the, emergency reports that you send out. They're very helpful. Thank you.
Great, good, very good. That's what we're here for.
Anything else? Anne Marie, thanks so much. We realize how many diverse roles your office manages, so we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Is our public defender? There, right on cue. Perfect. So the public defender's office has got 3 items to move. The first is to apply for a grant application and a grant agreement. There's no amount there, but Greg, can you fill us in any more on that?
Yes, thank you. Request is to apply for the Office of Indigent Legal Services Upstate Model Family Representation Grant. Last year, I came to this board, asked for permission, and fortunately was then able to report the grant was approved. We were given $750,000 over a period of 3 years. State's effort to increase and improve legal representation for neglect and abuse cases. This grant is in line with the state's continuing effort to try to improve legal representation for the indigent folks in the family court sector, which, as you know, is a large part of our department. So this would be $3 million over 3 years, would be $1 million a year. And as part of the grant application, we would have to put down our proposal as to how we would spend that money and furthering the goal of the grant, which is to increase the quality of legal representation for family court matters. And we have been in the process of brainstorming. We're coming up with ideas with our family court attorneys. And one thing that's glaring to us is it would be wonderful if we could get on board some additional resources in case management for family court matters and also a family court attorney. Right now, we have 2 full-time family court lawyers and 1 part-time family court lawyer. And as to the client attorney ratio, we're deficient in that regard. So with this grant, we think we would be able to really increase the attorney-client ratio and increase the quality of legal representation we can give to our indigent folks in the county. And we would very much appreciate permission to go forward and submit this grant application.
Motion to move item 1. Supervisor Mayday, second Supervisor Gilligan. Any additional?
Chair, if we could
Discussion.
just also for accepting grant monies, not just for the application, but accepting, there's no county matching on this, correct?
That's correct.
Supervisor Mayday and Gilligan, you agree with that amendment? Okay, good. Any other discussion, questions? Supervisor Patrick?
I'm reading this right. It's $3,000 to apply for the grant. And I think you said it. What was the total grant application amount for?
3 million over 3 years.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. The second item is to enter a new agreement. This is for office space at 333 Glen.
About a year ago, or in the spring of this year, the county attorney and our county administrator conducted a very thorough audit of the public defender's office. And one of the glaring problems that they recognized immediately was that the office space for the public defender's office is wholly insufficient. As you know, most of our funding comes from Indigent Legal Services, ILS. And they have been dedicated, the state of New York has been dedicated in striving to improve legal representation for indigent people charged with criminal matters. And in doing this and fulfilling this goal, which is part of a Court of Appeals ruling and part of executive law legislation, they have constantly augmented the attorney staff. And so while our attorney staff is growing and the attorney-client ratio is reducing and achieving and fulfilling the goals of the legislation, the space keeps getting smaller and smaller. And in many instances, we have attorneys who have no offices, no confidential communication with clients. And it's just wholly inadequate for proper legal representation and to instill any sense of confidence in a client who comes to the office and feels like they're being represented by a lawyer in a professional law office setting. This was a real serious problem because the county here on our campus was not sure where to put us because we do have so many lawyers. We have 11 lawyers, multiple staff, support. And then with the assistance of the county administrator, we went down and we looked at some space at 333 Glen. And they were to provide us with some phenomenal space that will, in one fine swoop, cure our office efficiency problem. And they also offered it at a very comparable and competitive rate. So with this new lease, we would be proposing to move the Warren County Public Defender's Office from our campus here in Lake George to the 333 Glen Street. We would reserve 3 offices here for the family court and for arraignments at the cap court and for county attorney. So we would still require 3 offices here, but that would be in line with the requirement of ILS that they are to supplant, not substitute, public defender's offices because the county would be providing us those 3 offices, but the bulk of our office space would in fact be subsidized by ILS. In fact, the lease that we proposed and seeking approval for is 100% subsidized by ILS funding. And that lease is for $5,905.25 per month or $70,863 per year. This would subsume a lease that we already have down there, which is at $15,600 a year. So that would be wiped off the table. This office space would go a long way into curing this glaring problem. And we're very excited and very hopeful that we can move forward on this office space.
Motion to move this request forward. Supervisor Strainer, second. Supervisor Conover. Question, I've got one question, Greg, in reference to your thoughts, feelings about security in that building or on your floor?
Yes, thank you. That's an excellent question. Another great thing about this proposal is they have their own security. You cannot get into 333 Glen unless you buzz and there's a doorman there at the lobby. And it's our intention that anytime a client would be coming, we would inform the lobby personnel that so-and-so is coming, give them the name, and that's how the security would be maintained in that regard.
So your personal feelings on the security, overall security?
My personal feelings is it's far more secure than what we have right now, even though we have guards. But someone could easily come in through those guards who are unarmed and our door's right there. There are lawyers who, right now, there are lawyers in an isolated office with no emergency buttons. And if they have a client they're talking to, that client could get rowdy or unruly and violent. And it would be difficult. There's no security cameras. It would be difficult to know that that lawyer's in trouble or threatened. Here, all the offices are wide open. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. And if you have a private office, you would close the door and we'd know who's in there and we'd know there's a client in there and we're all very close together. So I think the security layout is far more secure in 333 Glen than it is here.
Good. Other questions for Greg on this?
Forgive
Supervisor
me, I
Pesch.
should know this. Where is there, what city is 333 Glennon?
Glens Falls.
Glens Falls.
It's the old Travelers Building.
Supervisor Trainer.
How much space are we renting now from 333 Glen?
Between the sign council.
And all the stuff that we're moving down there?
I'm not
We-
sure what that is.
We were originally down there back 15, 16 years ago, and they said it wasn't enough space, so we built this beautiful building over here that was supposed to house everybody we needed. And now we've gone back to putting everybody down at 333 Glen. I'm just wondering how much space we're renting.
County Administrator.
Thanks, Mr.
Not
Chair.
you.
I don't know the exact square footage, but, we do have, as, Brian mentioned, we have the assigned council down there. It's a small office with about 2 or 3 inner offices. And the public defender has one on the first floor. And that's where, if they move to the 9th floor, this first floor office, and again, it's a small office with 3 inner offices. Then we'll have the public defender on the 9th floor. We'll have assigned counsel on the first floor. And then we have, the workforce development shares space with the Department of Labor on the 3rd floor. And they have probably about 10 inner offices in there. That's Department of Labor rents about half of one of it. And that's where our workforce development is. That's all we have.
Now,
Well, I think you have to look, certainly in my perspective, what I've seen and visited the very offices, workload has increased, staffing has increased, and really running out of space to operate
no,
safely.
I don't disagree with any of that. I don't disagree with moving these people down there. It's just ironic how, we were down there and had 3 floors and now we're back there 20 years later, we're 3 floors and it's just, a cost.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just would like to add one thing. All of the space we have in 333 Glen is not funded by the county. So assigned counsel is funded by ILS and Herring funding, as will be the Public Defender's Office, and Workforce Development is funded by Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act, WIOA funding from federal government.
So if we had those things here, we couldn't collect that money from them. We couldn't charge back.
That's a
Yeah.
good question. I believe we get that funding regardless, but ILS, Indigent Legal Services, has been very cooperative with us, giving us additional funding to help us relocate down there.
Supervisor Mayday.
My only other thought is parking, accessibility, people getting there. Because obviously we have concerns about people from the North Country, people always thought this was the center to go to. So that, not that I'm against it, but those are concerns and thoughts.
So those concerns we were worried about too, with the assigned counsel, because the indigent people initially have to make contact with assigned counsel for application purposes, and the assigned counsel has expressed no problem with people finding their way to the assigned counsel office. Now, many of the people we represent, the assignment is done right in court. And the court usually makes the assignment vis-a-vis the bench when their indigency status is obvious. And a lot of people are on public assistance or unemployed, and that all automatically makes them eligible. So they would not have any need to come to Glens Falls to be qualified. They would have qualification at arraignment. As to meeting with the attorney, many of these defendants don't come to the office to talk about their case. In fact, you only really get to see them vis-a-vis the telephone, or in most instances at court appearances. The ones that do come to the office have no problem going to an office in Glens Falls. And it's far more accommodating and suitable for a one-on-one attorney-client meeting at the Glens Falls office. As for parking, that's another great part about this lease is there is designated parking for all tenants and tenant guests in this leasehold. So There's that parking garage that they have.
County Administrator.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a comment on parking too. The building, if the building was ever full, parking may be a challenge, but there's a garage there. The building is only about 60% filled right now, so it's going to be some time before parking becomes a problem there, I believe. You have a nice garage, so.
Supervisor Patrick.
Does it pose a hardship on your staff, the different location, moving from the county to 333 Glen Street?
Well, that's an excellent question, and yes, but a lot of staff have weighed the benefits of moving to 333 Glen and have personally believed that although it is an additional, in many instances, 5 to 10, some instances, 20-minute drive commute, the accommodations that they'll be working on are so much more superior that they're more than happy to engage in that additional commute. Another thing that is problematic, and that is quite often, we're called at the drop of a dime to be present for arraignments in county court, whether it be for parole recognizance hearings or arraignments, things of that sort. Now, that's one of the reasons why we need 3 offices here in the county for the county court attorney or one of the family court attorneys who is trained and is capable of doing arraignments to be present to go right down the hall without delay. So we've worked that out logistically.
Other questions? Motion to move this request forward? We already have that. I'm sorry. Yeah, we've been talking so long, I lost track. No further questions. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We've got one last item. That's to amend an existing contract with Westlaw.
So I won't belabor the point. Mr. Carasone has already discussed it. We're doing this as a joint venture for reduction in costs. What he failed to indicate was that this Westlaw program is artificial intelligence program, which is being utilized by all law firms, public defender firms, and district attorney firms throughout the state. And we hope, will save a lot of labor time in doing legal research and also in preparing legal memorandums. So we're very excited about it. It's cutting edge, and it's something that we really need in order to stay abreast of the legal research field and legal representation. And I will also say that I was very proud that the sale representative for Westlaw said, as me and Jason were meeting with Westlaw, said, I want to tell you that it's very unusual for a county district attorney and a county public defender to be working in such a collaborative hand-in-hand basis. And it's really refreshing to see. And that made me proud because our county has really prides itself on working in a practical way and reaching across the aisles or across the courtroom in this case to try to address problems with a practical solution. And so that is something both the district attorney and the public defender has done. And I think the county will inure the benefit of working together by a reduction in cost and legal research.
Motion to move this forward. Supervisor Mayday, Supervisor Gilligan. Questions for Greg?
Chair, if I could just, that it'll be one resolution with the DA's office. That's one contract. So really, the vote is for the portion of the resolution regarding the public defender. We're not going to do 2 separate resolutions. One contract with West Group.
Terrific. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, Greg, give us a summary of the budget request.
So, as you know, that the public defender's office is a very unique county department in that we derive most of our funding from the county budget and from 6 other separate grants that come from ILS. And each one of those grants has a certain allotted amount of money per year. and certain specific earmarks that that grant money can be spent for. And so the budgeting becomes a little bit complicated because we're interfacing so many different income streams with many different regulations. But I think for the purpose of this meeting, I'm very pleased to announce that as for the county budget, our proposed 2026 public defender budget remains 100% neutral. And although we are doing a lot of changes and a lot of growth and a lot of exciting and different things down at the public defender's office, such as the Westlaw program, the new office space, and also a new case management system. We're all very excited about all these wonderful changes. The best part about all these changes is it's all budget neutral. And we've all been able to work very closely with ILS, and we're able to subsidize all these changes without adding any additional burden on the taxpayers of Warren County. So we're very pleased about that. And I think that perhaps if you're interested, we derive approximately 65% of our funding from ILS, and the county provides 35%. And we're just hoping that, and we're confident that with the state's declared goal of improving legal representation for indigent folks in the state of New York, that ratio remains constant throughout the years.
All right, questions for Greg on this? All right, well, Supervisor Patchett?
I just had one kind of a futuristic sort of a thought, and I realize, seems like we're branching out the county into Glens Falls and places where there's certain office space available. And I mean, this is way down the road, but there's certainly something to be said about, having a hub, and the hub being right here at Warren County. And I just wonder if it could be maybe in our plans to be looking maybe with our planning department to, I don't know, increase our building space here at the county rather than continuing to branch out. And it sort of makes, I don't know, muddies the water a little bit for people and trying to find things. Just a thought more than anything.
We were told by the county administrator that this move, on your point, is hopefully a temporary solution. And it's our hope that the old jail may be raised and new office space put there at a cost-effective way. And that this would then the public defenders would achieve that goal. And I totally agree. It would be best if all county offices were centrally located. So this is not a permanent solution, but it certainly is a very effective one for temporary basis.
Great. Thank you.
County Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, we are kind of full at the municipal center right now. People have gotten wind that the public defender may be moving out, and I have 4 requests for additional space in every, to move into that area. The public defender's right now in about 4 or 5 separate locations down there, closet space and little offices along a hallway. It's really not conducive to good operation. The public defender has grown over the past several years, so this is a good solution for them. We've looked at the jail. The possibility of turning the jail into office space is probably a non-starter. It'd be too expensive to do that. The best solution would be to tear down the jail and build an additional wing there. Of course, that would probably be an expensive proposition. So we're looking at that, but that's probably down the line some ways. Thanks.
Anything else for Greg? Well, thanks very much. We certainly recognize and appreciate the services that your office provides throughout the year for the county.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. All right, our sheriff and undersheriff are with us. Sheriff, before you start, do you need any space at 333 Glen?
We're giving it away.
I will say the trend is consistent with our department. We are outgrowing our space. We're making do and we're filling some closet spaces with desks and whatnot, but I think that's the trend. We're doing more at Warren County. We have more services that we're providing, and I think that's a good thing.
All right, so there's six items for consideration. The first two we can combine. That's in reference to submission of an application to the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. And the second item is to increase the revenues in the same amount, which is $26,552. So give us a quick summary on items 1 and 2.
This is a recurring grant. It's something that we use for targeted, high visibility traffic enforcement to keep our roads safer. It's something that comes in every year. The amount, the award, $26,552, is pretty consistent with years past.
Motion moves forward. Supervisor Conover, second Supervisor Strainer. Any questions on this? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. The third request is to create a new contingent communications officer position.
Yes, we're gonna lose through retirement, a wonderful thing, 2 communications officers in the course of the next year. And we're looking to have this contingent position to hire somebody in advance of a retirement. Takes about 100 hours of training before somebody can be sitting at a terminal. We are already really one short in communications. We haven't asked for additional staffing in there. We get by, our officers and their work very hard. So this one position would allow us to get somebody trained up before the retirement. It will not impact our budget because the person coming in is going to be at year 1 salary and the person going out is going to be at 20+ year salary. So that the amount should offset.
Motion Supervisor Conover, second Supervisor Mayday. Questions on this, Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, I mean, this is really a smart move. And, we have had issues in various departments over the years where, this type of advanced, transition, planning, wasn't done. You know, we have an aging labor force, we have people retiring, and I just think this is a wise move, and I think it's something that that maybe we should consider for our operations in general. A lot of departments, by the time they come to us with a retirement, particularly in critical positions, the timeline is very short. And our options are, at that point, become very limited, particularly if there's a lot of training involved. So I commend you for being so proactive.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 4 is to enter into an agreement with Z School to provide opiate readiness and awareness training to members of the Warren County Sheriff's Office.
We hope to train several of our members. Opioids do affect our region, of course, and this is training that will be, I'm confident, very effective, and it's something that is going to be completely grant funded. So, but in order for us to do it, we have to have an agreement with Z School. We're just asking for you to approve that agreement.
Motion, move forward. Supervisor Strainer, second Supervisor Gilligan. Any questions or discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Fifth item is to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the city of Glens Falls to share police, law enforcement related and specialized fire resources, personnel and equipment. Sheriff?
Those who've been on the board for a time know that we have an agreement currently with the city of Glens Falls to share services, law enforcement services, really specifically for our emergency response team, our tactical team. This is an additional request to work with the fire department so that we could use their paramedics to be an attachment of our tactical team in the instance, and hopefully it never happens, that we need immediate paramedic emergency medical services to one of our team members or a victim in and around the scene. They will not be going into any hot zones, but effectively just outside a hot zone attached to our team.
Motion Supervisor Conover, second Supervisor Strainer. Any questions on this item?
Just that the term will be until terminated by either party.
That is correct.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. The last item is to approve to declare federal aid debt from 2013 and 2017 as bad debt. Sheriff?
This is something I just learned about this year. We have an amazing senior account clerk, Megan, in our administration. And there's $10,018 of debt it's going to remain unpaid. The treasurer's office has asked that we declare it as bad debt so that we can write it off from the books from Warren County. The backstory of it, 2013, 2017, it's asset forfeiture funding that we were anticipating would come in. I'm sure the funding came in. It was just slightly less the payment that we received than we had anticipated. So we're just looking to write this small amount off so it can be written off from the county's budget.
Motion Supervisor Mayday, second Supervisor Conover. Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, carried. There's no other action items, so we'll move to the discussion of the budget request.
If I could, just two items that are not on the discussion. Since our last meeting, we've had two significant events in Warren County. We had our Adirondack Nationals Car Show, and I want to share with you that we finally have our operations fine-tuned. From a public safety perspective, we've never had a better car show. We're getting tremendous feedback from businesses in Lake George and around Lake George, from supervisors, from leadership. So I just want to publicly commend our team for a job well done. That is always a very hard event to manage. And then we had our balloon festival this past weekend. Another, from what my perspective would be, a tremendous success story. Our sheriff's office performed exceptionally well. DPW did a fantastic job. All of the county employees and supervisors who volunteered. I know it went off very well, and I just want to share with you, if you're hearing any criticisms about the balloon festival, the criticisms are actually a positive, and they're coming from people that couldn't get onto the airfield. We're full. It was a perfect weekend. The weather cooperated with us. It couldn't have been any better. We just have so much room on that airfield. We put together a really effective plan to get people in and out as efficiently and effectively as possible. We got full, but it was a wonderful week. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you for those updates. We appreciate it.
Now for the budget, this is it's my 7th year presenting a budget. And again, for those who were here in year 1, it was a mess. I was not even sheriff yet, but our team, we've really gotten a good handle on it. I just want to let you know that a little over 85% of our budget, it's people, their salaries, benefits, and you're going to see increases in our budget due to cost of living, wage increases for our members. About 14% of what remains is contracts and services. You're paying our bills. And our budget's going to increase. Anybody that ever asks, our budget in the sheriff's office is going to increase every year. There are certain areas where we'd like to try to cut or shave, but the majority of our increases, they're our bills. So we have to pay them. As we work through, just like other departments, we have 3 sub-budgets. The first one is communications. And the only significant increase in communications is 470. It's our contracts. Our contracted services have increased, so we have to go along with that trend to pay our bills. For police, law enforcement, that budget, we've seen increases in our automotive equipment, technical equipment. The county contracted or worked a new agreement for electricity, and I think this is affecting all departments that have to pay an electric bill. Our electricity, we're asking for an additional $75,000 in this budget this year as compared to years past. And that's just because our bills have increased. Subscriptions, we're asking for an additional $71,500 over last year. And that is that Office 365. We now have a requirement that every employee in the sheriff's office that uses Microsoft Office has to have an individual account. So that's gone up significantly. We have no way around it, no way to escape it. That's just the cost for us to do business. And then automotive gas and oil, we're asking for an additional $50,000 there. And that's just because our fuel costs have increased. Jail services, I touch on this every year, the revenue spot. We're not getting any federal inmates. I've exhausted all of my avenues and revenues to try to remedies to try to figure out why we're not getting them. We have space. We are welcoming of federal inmates. I've been told a number of different things, but I don't want to project that we're going to receive revenue when I'm confident that we're not going to. So that code's going down. Technical equipment, we had a $58,000 increase this year. We have 8 chillers that control HVAC throughout our sheriff's office, and they're all 20+ years old. One has failed. We have moved a chiller to a location where it's providing about 80% of the service that's necessary. So we're replacing this one. And we just know that we need to start working with a plan with the budget team and the supervisors for years going forward to start maybe working towards replacing some of these others before they fail. And then finally, we asked for an extra $140,000 for food. Our inmate population was about 20% higher than normal through approximately 6 months of this calendar year. A lot of that had to do with us being required to hold state readies longer than we normally would. The state was not accepting inmates that should have been transferred to state prisons. So because we have more inmates and because food costs have increased, we need to ask for more money to feed them. Other than that, we're staying, like most other budgets, relatively flat, other than the cost of living increases. I will say to you, and when I say this, this is not a slight against Fred Lamy, Larry Cleveland, Bud York, but I stand here today to share with you that our sheriff's office has never operated more effectively, more efficiently. We've never had a better community engagement than we do today. Warren County is a tremendous place to live, work, play, visit, and I know that our team plays a significant role in that. What we do is expensive. I'm not saying that it's not, but we don't want to back away. I say it all the time. We don't want to compromise. We work hard to keep you all safe. We insulate you from the bad things that are in Warren County, and trust me when I say they are here. But one issue that I have a call for help, and I need your supervisors to help us with this. One of the biggest complaints that I receive, and I know that you receive because some of you call me personally, is traffic, speeding vehicles, unsafe acts, cars not stopping for stop signs. And we do our very best to deploy our equipment, to deploy manpower when we can, but we are running so lean that I've reached a point where we cannot effectively address the traffic complaints. And I will say to you that traffic in and around Warren County, if you've driven in this area, it's never been more unsafe than it is right now. And we want to combat that. I have a plan for it, but our plan is going, bless you. Our plan is going to require the addition of 2 police officers. We're asking for 2 additional patrol officers in this year's budget. They will work and do nothing other than traffic from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then special assignments as we deem necessary. They will hit targeted areas. If you have a complaint in Stony Creek, as I know Supervisor Thomas has shared with us some complaints in his township, they will go, they will work that area. They will document the hours worked, the number of vehicles stopped, the number of tickets written. We'll be able to have that information to provide to you, to your constituents, to the public. I want to be able to do more, but we cannot do more with the staffing that we have today. A bigger issue, something that we're currently working on. We had one of our county DPW workers that got struck and came into conflict. They reach out to us, and of course, we're going to say yes. When we say yes, we're saying yes with overtime. So right now we're doing in a form of like an Operation Hard Hat. We're going out with a patrol officer to keep these traffic areas safe for our DPW workers. If we have these 2 positions, they can be sitting there to monitor these construction locations. That's their job. Their job is traffic, and we'd be doing it without paying for overtime. So I know, and I appreciate that this is another tough budget year in Warren County. But this is something we've talked about. I know I've talked about it with some of you in the past. I know that many are supportive of this ask. It's a big ask, but I hope that it can carry through in the budget. And if you have any questions specifically, I'll answer anything.
Sheriff, let me personally say on this last issue you discussed, when many communities across the state and across the country have reduced the core mission of traffic safety, you're to be commended for your willingness to increase it for the people of the county. This is a quality of life issue. And personally, I want to extend thanks for you for creating these positions and for moving forward with traffic safety throughout the county. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Strainer.
I agree with Mr. Rucci here. My question is though, when you do a ticket someone, what part of that revenue do we keep? I know a lot of it we lose, don't we?
I don't believe that we get a penny. I don't know. DWI, some comes back through the Stop DWI program through fines. And a lot of people think that we're out writing tickets to generate revenue. What I say to our team, we don't have quotas. I want them to care about the communities that they work in, that they live in, to go out, take pride in their job. And if they see something and you really care about where you're working, it's going to work its way out. You're going to stop a vehicle. Some people need a good warning. Some people need a ticket. And we write summonses where we can, but not to veer off on too much of a tangent, we are working so much on addressing mental health and addiction. I would say safely more than 80% of our call load right now has a nexus to mental health, somebody in crisis. And normally I would be coming in saying, we're through Balloon Fest, everything's good. We can exhale a little bit in our sheriff's office. Our call volume is going to slow down a little bit. It is not. It is going to stay steady. And we are going to be going from call to call to call. We're not looking for sympathy, but there are days when our patrol officers don't take a lunch. They're just going 12 hours straight. They're going from call to call to call. And then they're spending an hour when they get back to the station just to do all the reports that are necessary to document their day. So with that, because they have to answer the calls for service, traffic safety has gone by the wayside. Traffic safety is public safety. And it's the thing like the supervisor said, Supervisor Gerasi, it affects us all the most in our quality of life.
Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, if you look at all these budgets, one thing that I know, and this happens every year, but particularly in certain years, if you look at the 800s code, employee benefits, we're looking at a big number increase this year. I don't know if you guys have a ballpark on that, but it has to be a whopping number. And that's not anything we really have much control over, is it really? Healthcare retirement, it's increasing by a lot. John, maybe you could comment on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have the exact numbers, but the three big increases in all of the budget this year come from our move to Office 365 for IT costs, the subscription cost with that, healthcare and retirement both have gone up. You know the percentage? I don't think.
We built in 8% for health insurance.
We've seen a big jump in that too. That's where a lot of our numbers are this year.
I think we're right now looking maybe even at 12%, but you take 8 to 12% against our total operating condition in terms of personnel. That is a big number. I mean, that's before you talk about anything else. It's before you start talking about paper clips, paper, energy, gasoline, electricity, salaries, any of that. It's a big number, and that is year over year. That's not across a big trend line. That's year over year, and we've been very fortunate to be able to be skillful in the development of our budgets, but
Anything else for the sheriff?
Yeah, I had one more thing. It's on a positive note. The undersheriff and I have been doing this for 5 years, and I wish I would have come in with a figure, but in that time, we have captured millions of dollars in grant funding. We're aggressive. We go out and seek as much as we can. And with us, we're not looking to build something into a budget that's funded for a year or two, and then the county has to absorb. Everything that we're doing, every plan that we're making is for a project or specific accomplishment. When it's done, we're off. Big projects, and we're doing tremendous work with grant funding. So I just wanted you to be aware of that as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Supervisor Patrick.
Mr. Sheriff, who is the planning department writing your grants? Who
We-
writes your grants?
We kind of muddle through it ourselves, much like we do the budget.
That's encouraging, you know?
But we're doing well. We take our time, we ask, we get some questions answered from the state or whomever is the grant issuer, if you will, entity. Figure it out.
Anything else? Well, Sheriff, thanks so much to you and your team. Under Sheriff, thanks for being here today. I hope everyone knows how respected you are and the credibility you have across the state among law enforcement executives for obvious good reasons. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to privilege of the floor. I had asked, there was a question came up about revenue from tickets. Revenue should never be considered for tickets. I did ask the county treasurer if she could look into this with the New York State Comptroller's office, because there's real misconceptions about communities actually receiving revenue from tickets. So, County Treasurer, do you have any response to that?
timely, your question today and again yesterday by Supervisor Gerasi. So we did look into it. Unfortunately, we can't break out traffic violations from DWI. So we do get a big chunk of money that gets reimbursed, and the majority of it does go to municipalities. It's like 49% to municipalities, 47% to New York State, and a very small, like 4% to the counties. So we're looking to see if we can break it out further for you to determine how much is DWI versus the tickets, but there's also bail money in there as well. So there's a couple of things that make that up. But when you look at it holistically, municipalities get the majority, but I just need to try to get to those details.
Okay, thank you. I can tell you that Stop DWI, because there's a legislation in this state, it doesn't exist anywhere else in the country. So when you say 47% comes back to the municipality or the county, that's very specific to DWI, but there's many more traffic citations written than the right DWI arrest. So we'll be very interested if you can get those figures. My personal belief is the general fund of the state of New York benefits from that, not individual communities.
Okay.
Anything else? Well, thank you all, and we extend our appreciation to,
Sure.
yeah, extend our appreciation to certainly all our department heads for the preparation. Motion by Supervisor Conover to adjourn. Second, Supervisor Mayday. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. We're adjourned.